Well, hello, welcome everyone. You are joining us for a Zoom meeting during these days of the pandemic. We are all meeting together as a Quantum Techniques team and kind of sharing what we've experienced in our own lives and the lives with our clients in helping you live the best life possible. So I'm Jody Colegrove with Quantum Techniques, and we have the founder of Steve Daniel here, and we also have JJ, which is one of our practitioners. So we all wanted to kind of have you be able to meet us in person in some way, kind of virtually, and to be able to kind of know what our perspective is on certain issues that we deal with our clients. And so what we wanted to talk about today was doing anxiety. And we've all experienced anxiety in our own way. And so we wanted to give you some wonderful tools how you can help in healing with your anxiety or people that you know's anxiety, because we just found it to be so helpful in order to feel so grounded in this life. And we want to give you that same perspective or that same grounding, however we know how. So each of us have a different perspective sometimes of how that has helped us, and we want to share that with you. So thank you for listening today. So first, when we talk about anxiety, we want to talk about the physical aspect of anxiety. And what we've found with quantum techniques is that a lot of times they can be food related. And so we wanted to kind of start up the discussion that way, but I think it's also a good idea to be able to kind of introduce everybody and for them to say hi. So so that's a great jumping off point. So Steve, why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself if this is the first video that people have kind of listened to us, and we'll get the discussion going.
Yeah, my name is Stephen Daniel, and I've been doing this full-time for 22 years. So seen a lot of issues. My background was as a clinical psychologist and a psychopharmacologist, so worked a lot with people's anxiety. A QT approaches that in a different way, and like Jody said, a lot of times chronic anxiety is driven by food toxins, environmental toxins like inhalants. Laundry soap can be one of them, and also it can be not chronic, but like bites often reverse adrenaline. So there's a big physical component that you can actually take control of with quantum techniques.
Great. JJ, would you like to say something about that?
Absolutely. So for everybody out there, my name is JJ, or John Curren. I spent 36 years in the Coast Guard, was introduced to quantum techniques about 8 years ago from my wife, and I just never looked back. It's been an amazing transformation for me. I know it can help pretty much anybody. And I guess let's just go on with the anxiety part, because I think that's a huge part of everything going on right now.
Well, JJ, why don't you go ahead and start us off on kind of what you've kind of experienced with the clients you've worked with. And
so lately it's been more non-physical issues that have come into play. As Steve and you both noted, though, there have been in the past, I've had clients that have been more physical-based issues, like an allergy to a certain food or something they have too much of that they didn't realize. A lot of things going on lately, though, seem to be coming from more the, oh my God, the world is going to end anxiety. Not only with the COVID-19, but, you know, I mean, take your pick. It's COVID-19 or it's the new cell phones and all that stuff. So it's more, you know, the more people think about it and the more news talks about it and the more news, you know, gets into that point of it, it just becomes very difficult for people to disassociate themselves with what they know is real, what they think might be real, and what everybody else is telling them. So that's been a huge part, I would say, in the last 4 or 5 months. This has just been, you know, with the 5G and the COVID, it's just gone off the charts for me, non-physically. So I don't know if you guys have experienced the same stuff. Or...
Yeah, I was thinking about, someone had said, we're all in this storm right now. But sometimes when we're in this storm, we're all looking at something different. Some people are looking at the waves, you know, that are crashing into the boat. And some people are okay, in other words, if you're a boat in the storm, some people are thinking about the waves are crashing into the boat, maybe sink the boat. Other people are looking at the lightning. Some people are looking at the wind. Some people are looking at, the big, tornado in the sky. So we're all looking at it from a different perspective. And I think what causes that is because we've all had life experiences that maybe draw us towards a more intense emotion towards something. In other words, I don't have a lot of emotions towards tornadoes because I've never been in them. Well, now I live in a place where I have been near some, and it's like, oh, I guess I need to pay more attention to that. And so I think it's all in that perspective. So that's kind of what you're saying, JJ.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Well, anxiety is also driven by your imagination. It's when you leave the present moment. And if you think about this, even people that have gone through terrible things, when you go back and interview them, in that moment, they might have had some fear, but they didn't have anxiety. Anxiety is when I think about the future and my imagination takes over. And so I think right now, we probably have globally the highest level of anxiety, maybe since a world war, because this affects everybody and there's no lines of defense. So, whether that's I'm afraid I'm going to die or somebody I care about is going to die, or I'm afraid of the future, economically, or the next pandemic, when you leave this present moment in your imagination, you will always create fear and suffering. And that's part of the consciousness journey, is how do I live in the present moment? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have food next month or next year, but I have it now. I don't know if I'm going to get sick next month, but I'm not sick now. And so, do I live in my imagination or do I live in gratitude for what I have in this moment? Because no other time is real but now. The future is just my imagination. The past is my imagination / memory, but now is all you have. So, and what you tell your body influences your immune system. So if I'm always telling my body I'm going to die, in a sense, I'm running from the tiger, it shuts down the immune system, shuts down digestion, and you make yourself more vulnerable. That whole sense of what am I doing today that I can have gratitude for? And that's part of, when you choose, like so many people are, giving back to less fortunate, what you give your mind to focus on is really what controls the quality of your existence each day.
So Steve, to build on that, would you say that people putting stress on themselves and anxiety on themselves to tell themselves, well, I'm going to do this when I get better, this is going to happen? I mean, do you think that's certainly a form of anxiety, isn't it?
Correct. Right. I think you can't leave the present moment and go into the future without creating anxiety, especially right now, and without, taking away from your abilities, your immune system's ability to heal yourself. Okay, because one or two things, when you think about the future, you think, oh, it's terrifying. Or, well, I'm going to accomplish this great thing. Well, then what happens when you're blocked in accomplishing it? You go back into anxiety. So
Right.
again, and I think that it's okay to think about the future and plan for the future. And okay, yeah, when this is done, I'm going to, go meet these people and do my business presentations and get ready for that. But the quality of life is determined by where you focus your awareness today.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting how, Steve, what you're saying is that it will impact or lower our immune system. And this particular week, myself, there was a couple of things I really wanted to listen to get the content, but I knew that it would kind of impact me a lot emotionally. And sure enough, I noticed my ear was ringing, and I was like, well, that's kind of odd. But as I stepped back to realize, yeah, my body was telling me, I don't want to hear this. And so I chose and tested, okay, is this something that it's better for me not to take in right now and wait and let this go. And so I chose to listen to some praise music and go outside and kind of be in nature. And that took care of it. So it's a way, your body's always trying to tell you little hints of what it needs. And a lot of times we don't listen. So it's important to listen.
Well, in traditional medicine, research has shown for years that about 6 weeks after a major loss, well, think about people right now, the death of people they care about, or their finances, that there's a measurable drop, even in traditional medicine, in the immune system 4 to 6 weeks after a major loss. Well, we're in that 4 to 6 weeks right now for everyone. And so again, that's the sense of not focusing on what you've lost, but what you still have every day you can be grateful for. And that, I'll say, keeps your immune system healthy and focused where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's really good. And so we kind of went on to the non-physical, which I think is great because JJ, you're right. That's really where everybody's at right now. And they may not be experiencing the physical. And I just remember when I got married, there was just so much activity getting ready for that wedding. And it's like, well, I can't get sick now. And so, everything was great. And we got on our honeymoons, then we got colds because then we could finally like let it go, and all that stress came and stuff like that. And so, so it's kind of like, yeah, right now we're experiencing the physical part or the emotional part of it. And how is it going to impact people physically when we kind of come out of this a little bit? And so people need to be aware of kind of what those symptoms are. And so things that I've dealt with my clients is, sleeping, how are they sleeping? Are they dreaming? Are they having vivid dreams? Those are things that we can kind of help calm the whole mind down and help clear any of that. Other years, adrenals, sometimes, they don't let you sleep at night because they're revved up and trying to, like I said, fight the tiger. So that's important to be aware of. Things that
liver plays a big part of that too.
What is it?
I said liver. The liver plays a big part,
Yes.
and actually the whole body does, because that's when most of your detoxing gets done, is at night when you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people don't realize.
Yeah, so more liver, gallbladder, kidneys, peeing a lot, having to get up and pee. All those things are your body telling you, hey, something's going on here. I noticed I started sweating more because the sweat glands are also part of your detox system too.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we go back to that physical and realization that people with chronic anxiety are almost always, we call it reversing themselves, but blocking their healing by something they're eating. And usually it's one of the major foods. I think corn is the most likely, but corn, wheat, dairy, eggs, nightshade, citrus are the foods we always check people for. But too much caffeine can do that. So foods are a big issue. And then we have what we call pathogen anxiety, where it's like when you get the flu, you kind of get depressed. Well, you don't need an antidepressant. It's what we call it, I would say, viral depression. Well, you can have viral anxiety, bacterial anxiety, fungal anxiety. Any of those underlying unresolved infections by themselves can generate anxiety that medication is not going to be helpful because it doesn't work on the same neurotransmitters.
Absolutely.
I wrote down here also, bites can sometimes create anxiety because it gets your adrenaline going. And so you may think, oh, it's my adrenals that are keeping me awake and things like that, but it may be also bites that are impacting the body to be able to detox.
Well, and I think, one of the things that I wanted to mention is just watching the recent reports, and, everybody's putting their hopes on a vaccination, but yet we don't yet know, is the coronavirus going to be like the mumps that you get at once and you're immune, or you get a vaccination? Is it more like the flu, that it evolves every year, and so you get a flu vaccination that's somewhat protective? Or is it like the cold that mutates so quickly you can't? Well, what's the commonality is build a healthy immune system. Number one is the non-physical things we're talking about. Live in gratitude. Don't live in your imagination. Eat a healthy diet. Exercise. Keep your weight down. If you smoke, stop. Have an active spiritual community inside. Have active community. Have pets. Connect with people you love. Those are the common sense things that I think, this virus is showing such a higher rate of death in people that live unhealthy lifestyles. And I think it's a call back to basics. And I don't think you can eat out every night of the week and really have excellent health. I just don't think that's possible. So it's going to be a call for people to recognize there are real limits in traditional medicine. There's amazing things they can do, but traditional medicine is never going to have a magic pill that gives you a great immune system. That's your lifestyle choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think already, Steve, to your point, I think they really think the virus has already mutated. So I think it's more on those latter two, is more of an every year kind of flu thing, or is it like
Right.
you can't keep up with it like the cold? That's kind of what they're looking at right now. So
No, I agree.
Yeah. So going forward, we kind of touched on this a little bit, having the sense of, a spiritual practice, finding a community, living in gratitude, pets, all those kind of things really do help ground you. But I think the thing that I've been impressed with quantum techniques the most is that most of our clients, and the reason that they are having some illness issues, is because they feel like the world is not safe. And I too have struggled with this because, like I said, sometimes, we're not perfect and we look out at the future and go, ooh, that's kind of scary. But I've learned through tools that I have to dial that back and say, no, I need to be more centered and live in the now. And so that is a practice, that is a spiritual practice, to be able to constantly do that. So how do we help people to feel like the world is safe moving forward?
Why don't you go with that, JJ?
So I think more importantly, it's more, you have to identify what the problem or what the issue is that kind of brought all this stuff together. So whether you got in a car accident when you were 16 or something happened when you were a child, or because more often than not, when you keep getting reversed, as we call it, there's some kind of underlying trauma that actually sticks to all this anxiety that's happening today. So I think more when you start to look at that and you start to find those kind of things, it's a lot easier to clear in the future. I'm not going to say you can clear the future, because that's not how it works. But it works to let your body live in the now. Part of your body always wants to, that's what memories are, right? Sometimes memories are more vivid for some people than they are others. So for instance, Jody, you may think of a memory and oh, I used to love driving in this convertible when I was 17. And to me, that might be different because I got in a really bad car accident, which I didn't. But, if I got in a really bad car accident in a convertible, I wouldn't look at that, just that simple thing, in the same light. So once you find some of those underlying things, it's a lot easier to clear what's going on.
I remember looking at Vietnam vets that I'd done a lot of work with, and you have two soldiers that go through the same experience. One develops PTSD, one doesn't. What's the difference? It's their early childhood history of trauma, like the Senator John McCain that passed away. Look at what he went through. 8 years imprisonment, brutality. Came out very functional, maintained a relationship, maintained a career. Whatever PTSD he had was pretty minimal. Other people come out much less trauma, and they never work again a day in their life. They never have a successful relationship. And that's what JJ's saying, is that when trauma feels stick, think about this. It's really your belief system. So if I had that mythical creature called a safe, intact family, and I didn't have lots of trauma, so I grew up knowing, in a sense, my parents or the universe are going to protect me, take care of me, things work out for me, I'm protected, then it's pretty easy to generalize that to God, the universe, the divine. And yeah, I don't have the answers right now, but look, I'm going to survive the coronavirus. It's going to turn out okay. Well, if you were brutalized as a child, your house was broken into, you had a house fire, you lost everything, you don't have that same background belief that the world's going to be good for me, it's going to take care of me. And that's what JJ's talking about, is you might need to, and QT does a great job of that. What are those beliefs? What's that tied to? So that we can clear that. We can clear past traumas very effectively. In fact, I think Jody's going to give a trauma code at the end that you can use for your current anxiety over the coronavirus, but also other incidents that bring up that same sense of fear and powerlessness.
Yeah,
Right.
that's really good. Yeah. Well, we want to kind of keep this short and help people through just a kind of a discussion of anxiety. And so what I'll do is go ahead and give a trauma code that you can read to help reduce your anxiety. And so that will help. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before I gave that code today?
No, just live in the present in gratitude and know that this too will pass.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good way to leave it, Stephen.
All right, so let me go ahead and read the trauma code. So it's EB, IF, LF, SH, EB, E, MF, SH, IF, OE, AC. Now, I didn't do the points on that, and you can certainly email us and we can send you that code. We can also send you the points to touch for that code, but it's a little bit like, trying to pat my head, and if I try to do it together, I will screw it all up. So it's easier just to read the code for you. And I'm sure that on this video, it might show at the bottom as we've read that code when we get this to you and when you view this. So I thank you everyone for listening today, and we hope that we've given you some really good information to help you feel like you're more centered and can go back to a balance and find that security that you're needing. And so each one of us practitioners are here to help you, and you're welcome to visit our website at quantumtechniques.com, and you can look over each one of our bios and find out what we do and what we specialize in, and we all have a great background on how to help you get your health and happiness back. So thank you for joining us. And
Jody, one other thing.
Sure.
For people that don't, a code is basically a series of acupressure points that shows your body how to release this. And so you can focus on when you feel nervous or your fears and read the code a few times and then recheck in until the anxiety's gone. That's how you use it. Just wanted to make sure we included that for newbies.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. All right. So thank you for joining us.
Blessings.
Blessings.